Okay, I became Dean of Education just 8 months ago, so I'm going to talk about leveling up as a Dean and as a Professor of Education. Now, there's no training to be an academic administrator, so a Dean is just a professor who just happens to be appointed in that role for a period of time. So it's trial by fire to learn to become a Dean, and here's what I do to level up. One of the first skills you have to learn is to become a good listener. For the first several months as Dean, I had a steady stream of faculty make appointments to see me to describe the interesting work that they were doing. Even though I'd known them for many years, this was an invaluable insight for me to look into what they were doing. Now, universities have a very flat management structure. So all faculty members have an equal voice. Everyone is entitled to express their opinion and listen no matter how extreme their view may be. This naturally leads to conflicts that have to be resolved. So this is an important skill that I had to develop and refine very early on. Asking questions is the key to understanding. So I learned early on that you have to swallow your pride and ask about matters that everybody else understands. Sometimes you can use your naivety to advantage. For example, you go ahead and do something and then ask permission afterwards. You may get reprimanded, but probably not quite as severely. We have seemingly endless reports and planning documents to read as Dean. We have strategic plans, academic plans, research plans, hiring plans, fundraising plans, resource plans, and we even have plans on implementing the plans. Indeed, we have so many plans that I have to develop my own plan for reading all of those plans. Now, it's not unusual for me to log in the morning and find that I have 25 to 30 email messages waiting for me in my inbox. So one way I've cut down the volume is not publicizing my email address. Isn't that original? Instead, I have a generic account that's monitored by my assistant, and that way it helps reduce the burden tremendously so I can get rid of all the junk mail that inevitably comes to me. Now, it's been said that a meeting is an event where minutes are taken and hours are wasted. We have seemingly endless numbers of meetings at York, but that's how university business is conducted. When I host a meeting myself, I try to cut it down to an hour and a half rather than the default 2 hours. You can usually get the same amount done regardless. Invaluable tool that I've come across using is Evernote. I've found it's a great way to cope with the volume of documents and so on that I have. It's an online tool that provides a client notepad on computers, tablets, and smartphones. Therefore, you can always access the documents from whatever device you're using. And what's more, the documents are searchable and can be tagged. Another way to level up is by talking to colleagues. Yes, this takes time, but it's essential. It's critical to understand how colleagues feel about certain issues so that you can start building a consensus. If you don't do this, you risk being isolated and out of touch. If all else fails, I can always resort to acting knowledgeable about an issue, even when I don't understand it. When I finish the meeting, then I scramble, of course, to find out the answer, what it's all about. It's not something I like doing, but I resort to it whenever I need to. Now, I've taught university for over 30 years. My academic specialty is the evaluation of e-learning, a field that didn't even exist when my career began. Technology has helped me tremendously in leveling up, but the basic process has changed little from the early days, the pre-online days. The main difference, of course, is that keeping abreast in my field is much more efficient with online access. Conferences has always been the mainstay for academics to level up. Often people fuss about the conference theme, but it's funny that almost everyone agrees that it's the informal contacts that you make during the conference that are the most important takeaways. So no doubt the same will be for this conference. Now, Twitter is a tool that I use that has truly revolutionized my ability to keep up to speed on topics. I choose people I follow very carefully and delete them if they're not adding value. I follow only several hashtags on a regular basis, such as e-learning, ed tech, or higher ed, and of course, conference hashtags, such as ASI. Now, it's critical for academics to read peer-reviewed literature in their field of study to keep up to date. Academic journals have remained basically unchanged for decades, but of course, what's new is that almost all can be read online now. It's ironic that not long ago, if a journal was online, it was considered third-rate. Now, teaching. Most of you in this room, of course, are teachers, so it's no surprise to say that teaching a subject is the way to level up. Teaching imposes a deadline on your reading and learning the subtleties of a topic. There's nothing more motivating than knowing you'll have those eager faces staring at you, ready to ask questions and to trip you up, possibly. Writing is a surefire way to improve your thinking. You can set out the logic of your argument, discover flaws, improve your ability to express yourself. And I make an effort to write out my ideas and thoughts weekly in order to keep up this skill. Reading online news and news feeds is something I do routinely. For instance, the Mindshare Learning Report that was mentioned is a terrific tool for keeping up to date on K-12 and higher ed educational technology trends. Twitter is an excellent way to get referred to online news articles. So it avoids the need to continually check your publications, as you have the Twittersphere basically doing the filtering for you. Now, academics are routinely called to review each other's work without knowing who the author is, nor does the author know the reviewer. This is the so-called double-blind process. But by reviewing, I see what others are writing about even before it gets published. So there's no better way of keeping on top of trending research. Lastly, networking with colleagues, whether at a conference, before or after a meeting, or talking in the hallways, is always a great way of leveling up. The challenge is to get by the gossip and, of course, move on to the substance. Steve Jobs famously recognized the importance of networking for innovation. Hence, Apple's offices are always designed to encourage informal meeting. So to conclude, don't be frantic about leveling up. Do what comes naturally and feel comfortable with it. I hope what I've shared with you will give you some ideas that you might find useful. If not, aren't you glad that my presentation only lasted 400 seconds? Thank you.
6 minutes and 40 seconds.